Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Millions of women in the United States have lost the constitutional right to abortion after the Supreme Court overturned a 50-year-old ruling that legalised the procedure nationwide. States are now free to outlaw pregnancy terminations, and 13, where Republicans are in power, are moving to do so within a month. Some Democrat-controlled states say they will enact laws to ensure abortion access. Our North America editor Sarah Smith is outside the Supreme Court in Washington.
State by state, you will have very radically different regimes and laws in place when it comes to women's reproductive rights. And of course, this is only the beginning, possibly, of radical decisions like this from the Supreme Court. We heard from Justice Clarence Thomas today that he thinks that the court should now go and revisit other progressive decisions that he and some of the more conservative justices disagree with. He wants them to look again at the guaranteed access to contraception. He wants to look again at the decision that legalised same-sex marriage.
President Biden said he was stunned by the ruling, saying it was cruel and driven by extremism that regressed America to the 19th century. He pledged to help women to cross state lines for an abortion and urged voters in upcoming midterm elections to put personal freedoms on the ballot. Vice President Kamala Harris called the decision a healthcare crisis.
Millions of women in America will go to bed tonight without access to the same health care that their mothers and grandmothers had for 50 years. This is the first time in the history of our nation that a constitutional right has been taken from the people of America.
Donald Trump has welcomed the ruling, but some high-profile US firms, including Meta, Walt Disney and Goldman Sachs, have already offered to fund travel expenses for employees seeking out-of-state abortions. Ukraine has begun withdrawing its forces from the eastern city of Severodonetsk following weeks of intense bombardment and fighting. Ukraine's military has not spoken directly of the withdrawal, but said Russian forces had tried to storm Severodonetsk's industrial zone. Orla Guerin has more.
We reached a commander who pulled out at dawn under fire after the last of his fighters. Petro Kuzik leads volunteers called the Freedom Battalion.
It was incredibly hard. At that moment, I felt despair. But it's okay. It's not over. Our leadership saved the troops to fight another day.
The commander told us that some Ukrainian Special Forces units remain in the city. But it seems clear that Russia will soon hold all of Severodonetsk.
BBC News. Tens of thousands of people in Georgia have staged a rally in the capital, Tbilisi, a day after the European Union deferred a decision on the country's candidacy for membership. Many called for the resignation of the Prime Minister. The BBC's Rehan Dimitri reports from Tbilisi.
Carrying Georgian and EU flags, thousands of protesters filled Tbilisi's Central Avenue. Many here are disappointed that the European Council fell short of offering Georgia candidate status for EU membership, and they hold their government responsible. The organizers said that the main obstacle was the influence of an oligarch, Bidzina Ivanishvili, on politics. The EU says Georgia will get the candidate status if it commits to reforms, including free media and independent judiciary.
The Pentagon says it's repatriated an Afghan detainee who was held at Guantanamo Bay for 15 years after a US court ruled that he was unlawfully detained. Asadullah Harun al-Afghani was born in Afghanistan and accused of being a member of a militant group. He'd been in custody in Guantanamo Bay without charge since 2007. The authorities in Morocco say 18 migrants died and others were injured when a huge crowd of people tried to cross into the Spanish enclave of Melilla. Earlier, a Moroccan official said some of those who died had fallen from the top of a border fence. Several police officers, security personnel and migrants were admitted to hospital following clashes. Two prominent Cuban artists have received long prison sentences following a trial that human rights groups have called a farce. Luis Manuel Otero Alcantara and Michael Castillo both appeared in the music video for Patria y Vida, a defiant hip-hop song that became the unofficial anthem for widespread anti-government protests that broke out in Cuba last July. That's the latest. BBC News.